Salute, Tiara. Salute.
Hello, salute, holla, happy Sunday.
Thank you. Happy Sunday to you.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm not gonna be up here long. I did want to chime in. So when I did see Trump make this announcement, I know there's a lot of people that ain't fans of Trump. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of him either, but I had no choice to agree with his stance on this because I personally feel as if, if a person wants to make their gender identity, align with them, that's fine. But I don't think that that decision should be made when a child is so young, because end of the day, they always say that a child's mind doesn't even fully develop until they're about, I think they said the age is 13. So if
Mm,
you're making a decision for that child and like the parents like, oh, I'm going to support my child, it's like, yeah, of course. But that doesn't mean that you put them under the knife and allow them to go through that because, when they get older and let's say they change their minds about that, like what's going to happen then? Like there's no reversing that surgery. You can't undo what's been removed and what's been changed. Like there's no way around it. Once it's done, it's done. And honestly, a lot of times what I've seen, even in regards to how they describe the process of determining if a person is ready to undergo something like that. I'm like, if we even look at, the therapies and the hormones and all that stuff, it's like, I don't even think there's enough education that could be given to a child to even fully understand what that means. So
right.
when you're having these parents say like, oh, I want this and I want that, it's like, yes, you want your children to be happy. If they choose to not identify as what they were born as, fine, but that doesn't mean you make a decision that's final at such a young age. Now, if they decide when they turn over the age of 18 to do that, cool. That's their business. I'm not here to judge nobody. But the thing that really blew my mind, and I did not know this, I did not know that the government was funding this. I didn't know that there were people getting these procedures done and the government was covering the cost. Meanwhile, I got hell for trying to get a pair of glasses. Like, how does someone making a personal choice trump a need? You get what I'm saying? So when I found
Right.
that, I said, oh no, like this is crazy. I always thought that people were just paying for it out of pocket. I didn't know that they were classifying it as something that was necessary to practice inclusion. Now, when we get to how this translated into schools, which is why I'm glad you talked about this, is because a few years back, now mind y'all, I'm a homeschool parent, so I follow the general curriculum, but everything else that my child does, that's up to me. But years ago, my aunt ended up calling me and she expressed that she was frustrated because they were sending home these letters with the kids saying that they were going to be covering, certain topics surrounding LGBTQIA acceptance. They were going to be covering, like what it means to be a transgender and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, how does this constitute towards a child's curriculum? Whereas there's other things they're trying to cover up. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to cover up history from our children. They're trying to cover up things that actually happened, but you're making it apparent that they have to learn about this particular level of inclusion. And you're not even asking the parents' permission. You're just sending them home with a permission. So, like, hey, this is what we're going to be teaching. We just want to make you sign this paper so that you're aware. Not even giving the parents an option, and they're including it as part of their daily curriculum. I'm like, how the hell? What? Like in all the years we've been alive, when you were going to school, did you have to do that, Kate? Holla, did you have to do that?
Nope. I don't know nothing. This year is
I
all
was,
new to me.
I was surprised. I was like, they sent you home. They sent your son home with a slip and just wanted you to sign it to just say they made you aware. Not saying, do you want your child to participate? It's, oh no, your child has to participate. They're going to be graded on this. It's a part of their studies. And we just want to make sure that this is, it's like, no, you don't get to make that decision. Then they're telling parents that if your child chooses to identify as this, we don't need your permission
Right.
to accept this.
Sorry to cut you off, but I couldn't even participate in Christmas, like a Christmas party, because, I had to get my parents' permission. I could have been a Jehovah Witness or something like that. So I
Right.
had to,
Exactly.
yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
so I understood Trump on this one because it's like you're trying to basically take the control away from a parent and leaving it to where you're saying that, hey, a child can make this decision for themselves, and that's just it. And they don't, and how are you going to allow a child to make that decision when some of them don't even know how to properly cleanse and bathe themselves and make proper social calls and decisions, but they have permission to say what they want to identify as without the parent being consulted? Like, no, that's crazy to me. So I agree with this policy. I think the doctors that perform these procedures on minors, like, you got to be real sick in the head to have even gone through with doing this to a kid. Like, how could you even sit there and say, okay, I'm going to clean these medical tools, we're going to do this procedure, and that's just it. Yay, we're going to throw them a party, give them a rainbow flag, and send them on the way. Like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy. You're right. That's well said. John Illuminati, salute. Diamond Shooter, salute. That's 100% right. Because you couldn't even go to the zoo, botanical gardens, without your.
You couldn't. It was no way. You couldn't even participate. You know, like when they used to do the birthday parties and the parents would come and bring like the cupcakes and the gift bags and stuff to school. Like, you couldn't even do that unless the parent gave permission for the child to eat the pizza and all that stuff. Like, no, everything done changed.
Right. Things done changed.
But I'm glad he's setting some order around here as far as that. I agree. I can't say I'm agree with everything else he do during his presidency, but for this specific thing, yeah, because it's like you're kind of depriving the parent the right to have a say so, not only in the educational process, but also just how they choose to be comfortable in their own skin. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these kids see what they see on social media and they think it's cool. They're not thinking about how this will affect them when they grow up. They're thinking in the moment and what they see and what's accepted in society versus the conversations that are necessary to really indicate the importance of having all your facts in order and loving yourself through and through. So I agree with Trump on this. Okay, I'm sorry for anybody that don't, but I do. But shout out to the LGBTQIA. I don't hate y'all or nothing. Just when it comes to mine, you don't get to tell me what to do as far as mine. No, absolutely not. I will unlove you. Anyway. But that's all I wanted to say.
Well said. I appreciate you for saying, articulating it. If I could, I would have said it just like that. I appreciate that.
All right, y'all enjoy your Sunday. I gotta make fried rice. I love y'all.
All right, salute, Tiara. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Juice K, salute.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine. I just wanted to tap into, like, what she was saying about like how they're doing it in the school systems. The reason why these things are getting, tapped into the school systems, because a lot of parents treating school as daycare. They're not going to the meetings at the schools. You have to be involved in the schools and the policies to make things work for how you want your kid to learn. If there's parents saying that they don't want this, they're not going to allow it. So you can't just sit on the sidelines. Us as parents, we have to go to these meetings. We have to know what our kids are learning before the curriculum gets sent out.
Right.
We can't just blame it. Just like back in the day, before social media came out, they were trying to push. There was parents pushing that kids shouldn't be on there, and nobody paid attention to that, and they lost. So if we as parents have to control the narrative, back when I was growing up, it was a mother group, and they used to be everywhere with certain things. Commercials was shut down off of TV.
My bad. What they call it? The Trooper Salute, the PA, the PTA or something like that.
The PTA. You have to be involved. You can't treat school as a daycare and then be like, oh, wow, this is happening. No, because it's not happening in every school system. You get what I'm saying? It's only happening.
You cut off, Juicy. Right. The Parents Teachers Association. Yes.
Yes, you have to be involved. You can't just drop your kid off there, because by the time you drop your kid off to school, the list, you think the messages is for nothing? They already sent you the curriculum. You had before your kid went to school to fight against that. They have these meetings. People don't want to wait in line. They use certain procedures to make you not, draw it out so you can't talk. But there's people that wait there and wait to the end to talk and go against these policies. So it's like, you got to do your due diligence too to change America. You can't just talk about it and not be about it.
Right. Pamela, salute. That's
if you're not in the meeting, then you have no right to talk about it because you're not doing that, because there's nothing right now. They do meetings where you could be and sign your name on a list, and you could do it from online. Like they were gonna, when I was in Hartford, Connecticut, they was gonna move the school, the Montessori school outside of Hartford, and get Hartford funding. We fought for that school to stay in Hartford because it was a community school. Why can't our kids get the same educational situation? And then if our kids are so far, let's if your kids is sick, if you don't pick your kids up at a certain time, DCF is called. Some of our parents don't have cars. So if you're not there to fight for your kid, then you cannot complain. They're not putting the gay stuff in the curriculum without your consent. You didn't show up at the meeting. You didn't ask the teacher. You didn't talk to the principal. They're doing it because if you don't say nothing, you ain't voting for nothing. And the little 3 people that voted for it won.
Right, but like you said, some parents can't make it to these things. How about that? I'm 22
it's virtual now. It's virtual now. It's nothing to do.
Okay.
It's nothing to do but make a petition. You can make a petition, have people sign it, and send it in. The petition has to go first. You get everybody in the community to sign. They have now a petition, like what is that thing on online? And you make a petition and you send it out, and then you send it. You know. So there's ways. We're in 2024. The reason why your school is doing that is because you did not go to the meetings. There's no government involved because my kids go, so they ain't playing that.
Right.
They're not playing that. They there every day. They there every day fighting, doing this, letting people know, sending it out. So the reason why these laws are set in your community and your school or whatever you're living is that because you didn't show up and your peoples didn't show up. All we do in the urban community is talk. We don't never go to the meetings. And then the person that go to the meetings, we don't even support them. There was a guy where I came from. He was in Channel 5. He was a good person, and they didn't even vote him from a mayor. They voted the 7-Eleven motherfucking Indy. They voted a person that didn't come from the community. I'm sorry. And you get mad. Like people don't want to even vote for people like them no more.
Right.
You got people, elders that's trying, and they don't even want to vote for like them. So it's something that's going on in the community that we need to like turn the other cheek versus, okay, this person grew up in the hood. That's the person you want to fight for you. Why would you want somebody that just came here out of nowhere, lived there for 4 years to get the mayor position? Because you have to live where you're going to reside at to run over. So it's a monopoly, it's musical chairs. We have career politicians that are taking over, and people just hear, oh, weed is legal, this is legal, and vote instead of saying, okay, I'm taking this and that, but not taking, like, my kids are going to be prone to learning these things that wasn't even advertised back in the day. Back in the day, that junk never happened. People were sweet. They still wore motherfucking FUBU and motherfucking Sean John or whatever academics. They was free. They was sweet on their own time. That's when the after hours and they went to their own little segment. Nobody that wasn't out on Front Street. It's out on Front Street because people allowed it to become on the media. Nobody's fighting against the commercials no more like the mother groups back in the day.
Right. I remember those groups like even when it came to like certain music. Like that's why they put like parental advisories on certain music and movies and stuff like that. I remember those people who used to stand outside the radio station and crush certain tape. Yeah, I remember that.
Even the toy. Remember the toy from what's that thing? Back to the Future. That thing that flies up in the air. That was banned as a toy for kids because they were going to put it out. It was banned for toy because the mother group said no. Mother groups were so phenomenal back in the day. Campbell's would have never put out a gay commercial back in the day. They talk about Campbell soups and kissing the whole man. What do we expect our kids? That's why you can't have your kids on social media. But then what they say about you when your kids don't got no phones or social media, oh, you doing your kid grimy. No, I got to program my kids to fight the combat of the world.
Right.
You know, certain kids shouldn't have a phone. I don't care. Back in the day, we used to have that different board games, the thing that slided and you learn how to do math. Now these people, they want to put their kids on the phone to learn, but they don't know porn's popping up in the commercials. So you sitting your kids thinking they learning, And they're learning about other things. They got a man in the wig. Commercials, ads come on. What you think they for? They for influencing your kid's mind. And they're very heavy in the educational part apps.
Real talk. Real talk.
So you're thinking you're doing something and you're not doing something because all it takes is for all of us to go create these groups and stay solid at it. Like we solid behind these celebrities, like we solid about how we feel. Why the hell we can't do that in real life? Go to the schools, be involved. Be involved. Because if you're not involved, then you can't say shit because you on the other team, no matter if you're not. If you don't say nothing, you ain't doing nothing.
Real talk. Salute to the members. Hit that link pinned to the top of the chat if you want to join the members only. Salute Red Jones. Salute Crook. Young Sellers. Salute. Now that's real talk. That's real talk, Juicy.
Cause imagine like 2000. I'm 36. If we don't get these drugs off the street and all these kids are done. These kids are done. Damn near I went to the store. This little boy, white, he was on the street. I said, boy, you don't look like you're supposed to be here. I said, what are you doing? He said, can I give me some money to buy a black? I said, I ain't gonna give you no money to buy a black. I can't do that for you, but I'm gonna give you a hug. And then I better not see you out here no more because at the end of the day, you know, your parents ain't got you like that. These kids are making these choices. They come from good homes. They doing it because of what they influence of. It ain't the parent fault no more. Back in the day, it was the parent fault. Niggas really grew up with roaches and rats and all this stuff. Now, these parents like me, I'm breaking free. I'm making sure my kids don't grow up in the cycle. But the school system can influence a child. You get what I'm saying? And things that go on in the school system. If you don't have parents there watching it, they're going to get high, they're going to smoke, they're going to pick what gender they is, and they could go on to school. They don't gave little kids dresses in school and then make them change after so they can go home. A father just found out his kid and where his son was wearing a dress for play up in kindergarten.
Wow. Salute, we got a new member, Gift and the Curse podcast. Salute, Big Killer, appreciate you. Unruly, salute.
That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna drop down.
I appreciate you, Juicy. I appreciate you. Salute to the members. Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to everybody watching from the background. Salute to everybody who's gonna catch this on the replay.